have we actually forgotten what happened to Wendy? Because as far as I can see, without actually watching this new documentary, which we can't do until the end of February, it seems as though this documentary is largely focused on her fall from grace with drug and alcohol use and her illness. But we seem to also have forgotten what was done to her. Okay, the drugs she was actually doing in her earlier years. So I don't want to make that entirely Kevin's fault, because she did quit because of Kevin, but then she also relapsed because of Kevin and his antics. This relapse and even her physical illness are very common trauma responses related to abuse. And yes, she was emotionally and mentally abused during her marriage to Kevin. He was also a serial cheater, which is its own form of emotional and mental abuse. And this abuse was well known by, maybe not her, but her entire team of staff. Check it out.
In addition to dealing with her marital and health issues, Wendy had problems on set. According to multiple sources, Kevin was a menace and made everyone's life on set a living hell. Several staff members would go on record to say that Kevin was a bully, controlling, and had a terrible temper. To not upset the big boss, many of them avoided him.
Kelvin would run down and criticize something I said and talk loud and flail his arms, and you could see his body language even though the music was going. And Morel would come out, and he, like clockwork, because he knows my face. He's been with me all 12 years and the 6-week sneak peek.
Shout out to Morel.
He'd come out with his glue and glue my lashes back on and just, dab, 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 pat me down, make it look like nothing happened, redo my lip gloss. Kevin is screaming at me the whole time.
Damn,
and Morel knows better, so Morel would just look down and say nothing. Morel wouldn't cry. I know Morel thought that I was still a beaten woman, and that's the way that was. He would compliment and destroy morale at the same time. Why are you talking to the crew? We're family. And Kevin would quickly tell me to go back into my office. These people don't care about me. And what were you talking to my wife about?
Kevin's behavior on set really concerned Wendy's staff and crew. Many of them thought that she was a battered woman. According to Wendy, Kevin never put his hands on her, but he was mentally and emotionally abusive.
So we're meeting, and Kev normally didn't like me to start the producers' meetings until he got there, and he'd be very emphatic about that, but he was like 20 minutes late, and finally I said, let's start now. We got to get the show started on time. I don't know where Kev is. He wasn't answering his phone. Like, Kev doesn't... So we're going over hot topics and the segments of the show, and Kev comes in the office and has a bag from the jewelers, another watch. So I'm like, okay, this is really nice, but can you sit down so we can get to this meeting? Thank you very much for that. He smacked it down on the table in front of everybody and fractured my table. I had to literally order a whole new panel. I have witnesses to that. As if I wasn't celebrating him walking in late and giving me a Rolex watch. I have Rolexes. I have everything. I don't need more. Stuff is stuff. We have been given an opportunity. We got over 100 people relying on us.
On top of Wendy dealing with health issues, marital issues, and a toxic work environment, she still had to show up to work with a smile on her face, ready to talk about the latest Hollywood story.
Then, after years and years of this, guess what he does? He not only leaves her for another woman, but he does it in the most publicly humiliating and heartless way. And even though he was openly this way, she would continue to fight for him and the relationship and cover him whenever he fell short. She even went as far as to say this.
It's some sort of weird story going around the internet regarding my husband. Now look, I'm a straight shooter, pow. All you gotta do is Google him and you see the story. You can believe what you want, but... Okay. I stand by my guy. We commuted this morning. The paparazzi was outside catching me in the cutest negligee. All is well in Hunterville. Don't believe the hype. And if there was hype, believe me, I would let you know. I want to shout out to my husband. I'm still wearing my ring. He's my best friend. He's my lover. He's all this and he's all that. I know what you've been seeing, and I knew what the streets have been talking about. Marriages have ebbs and flows. Marriages are not easy. And don't ask me about mine.
until you see this gone. And it ain't going anywhere. Not in this lifetime.
Now, those of you who are naive to the tactics of abuse may believe that his public humiliation of her was an unavoidable part of the process of leaving her. But no, this was absolutely intentional. Because not only did she originally not agree with cheating, but she openly adjusted that principle in order to account for Kevin's cheating behavior, taking her out of alignment with her values and her principles. And he knows this. Check out what she said about cheating here.
I used to have a cheat and I'm breaking this off rule, but my husband cheated on me after we got married, not before. Now I have a modified rule. Cheating that produces a baby or an STD is a reason to break it off. My man is a special man. I love him to death despite his mistakes. We've moved on. My husband made a mistake, but I never questioned his love for me. He's mine and I won.
And even with all of that, he then embarrasses her by doing the exact thing Wendy dreaded most, the very thing she found to be unacceptable.
People were rooting for her on her road to recovery. But a week later, reports would come out that Kevin and Sharina secretly welcomed a baby girl.
And after that, does he say, sorry? No. This is all intentional. This is what toxic narcissists and abusers will do. First, they'll get you to make allowances for things that you never would have accepted before. And the more publicly you do this, the better. And then they'll crush you by making you feel like a fool and doing the one thing that would hurt you the most. And that is the bit that tears you apart. In her case, it isn't so much that he left her for another woman, but more the fact that she left her values and her principles in order to support him, in order to back him, only for him to betray her in the worst way and not even care. That's the bit that hurts. And they purposely set you up for this pain. Listen to the type of thing he would do while still married to Wendy. Check it out.
He spends half the time with Sharina and the other half the time with Wendy. That is a double life.
According to the report, Kevin purchased a house for Sharina 9 miles from his marital home. As Wendy continued to work, Kevin continued his relationship with Sharina, and the two would frequently be caught by paparazzi. It appeared as though Kevin had no regard for his wife's emotional, mental, and physical health. To the public, he was callous.
And they were walking like a loving couple. He opened the door to my Rolls Royce that he drives his son and his wife around. We pull up to the outside of our office. The Wendy line is up the block. People are screaming, Wendy, Wendy. And just yesterday, I know that she was in this car. And it's just, I just had to, that was very painful to play loving, holding hands in that same rotten Rolls Royce or Ferrari or Bentley or, our car game.
Now, when all of this was going on, naturally, her team sacked him as manager or whatever position he was supposed to be in then. Because A, they probably couldn't wait to get rid of him, and B, they weren't willing to support this emotional and psychological torture that he was raining down on this woman, right? But listen to how he tells it.
Instead of them pulling us into 2 separate rooms and saying, all right, look, we know what y'all going through. We know that, obviously they're concerned about Wendy and how she's feeling. And I can understand, as a woman, she probably was like, F that dude, I get it. But what was working was for a reason. So I think it was their job to put us in separate rooms and say, listen, we need to make this work. We need, Kevin is still a respected producer, like the other executive producer we had there, the showrunner. And I wasn't just there in name only. Like most men, I want to say, that's with a strong woman and they're a strong alpha male, you get mad and then you get to a point of some type of understanding. Me and her didn't get a chance to do that because so many people got in the middle of that. She probably would have had to say something on the air for her aggressive fans, right, which she could have, and been like, listen, y'all, I know y'all want to know what's up. Me and Kev is dealing with it. We'll let y'all know when we got it done. But they didn't want that. They seen the forest through the trees, and they was like, no, we need him out. We need you to stay strong, and we need you, and she was not as strong as she needed to be because she was still going through something, right, and they took advantage of that. And when we got back to the mainland, everything changed back to, Kevin's the narrative. Kevin's the reason. Kevin's the reason why the substance abuse escalated and all of this other stuff. And
apparently, it was all up to the team to keep him and her together and treat him like a valued member of staff. And the fact that they didn't was the issue. Can you spot the blame shifting going on here? And then when the tyranny of public humiliation and emotional and psychological torture didn't stop, naturally, she had a breakdown, relapsed into heavy drug and alcohol use, and her talk show went down the toilet. But if you let him tell it, this was not the reason at all. Check it out.
I was fired because I got a divorce.
Okay. And you said that exit was like the decline for the show. The show started slowly, not just like it just went down the tubes, but it was just a slow decline of things not working. People weren't doing what they were supposed to do, however you want to speak on that. But I guess I just would like a little bit more clarity for those who are not in this business. You know, radio people, TV people, we could probably understand what that means. But for the fans who tune into Wendy and she's still doing Hot Topics, she's still talking about the things everybody wants to talk about. What did that mean when you say once you was let go, the show declined?
Well, first and foremost, like I said, personally, you know, what we were going through behind the scenes was a lot. I mean, I take accountability for my actions, you know, for what's obviously out there. But what we was going through when it comes to our health issues and whatnot, it was a lot. And it was solely on me from a personal standpoint of that being my wife at the time. Now, the show was very aware of all things. And now it's obvious that they had no real compassion for the person that was really, you know, pioneering, you know, that not just that show, but the whole company.
So apparently the show didn't take a nosedive because of the way he was treating her, or more accurately, torturing her. It was because the managers couldn't manage the show without him. This is another thing toxic narcissists and abusers will do. They will treat you like the lowest, scummiest piece of crap. They'll torture you psychologically, emotionally, and in any way they can. They'll disrespect you in the worst way. And then when you crack under the weight of such a betrayal and turn to drugs or alcohol or just basically fall to pieces, they turn around and tell you that it's because you can't manage without them. And listen to how he talks about her attempted suicide.
I'm going to tell you what. I will go as far as to tell you that even in the midst of the divorce, even after the divorce, there were 2 times that I had to actually save Wendy's life. I know that she's remorseful for a lot of things because, you know, the irony of it all is with all of the people and the noise and the influences of everybody, there's still only 5 people that really care. And those same 5 people are the only people that really care. Now, am I one of those people? Yeah. Do I have to care from afar and not up close? You know, because she has to find herself like I had to find myself. So
according to him, he was the savior in the story and one of only a few people who really care about her. So he caused all of this pain and heartache. And when she's driven to the point where she doesn't want to be here anymore and attempts to take her own life, he's her savior and one of only a few who cares about her. And he cares so much that not only did he not at any point in time attempt to shelter her from the pain and humiliation that was obviously going to be caused by his actions, but even after the point where she attempts suicide, he still takes no accountability for what he did and actually positions himself as a good guy. That's a really sick individual right there. And I haven't spoken about it much here, but he also did the financial abuse. So on top of the humiliation, she's also got to watch that take place. Now I can hear some of you saying, okay, I can logically see how his behavior may have caused her to have a relapse and might have even caused her to become suicidal. But how did you manage to connect her illness to that? Anybody can become ill. And you're right. But here's the thing. Graves' disease is an autoimmune disorder. And guess what autoimmune disorders have been linked to? That's right, people who have experienced a history of abuse. And I'm doing this video to remind everybody what was actually done to her. So when this documentary does come out at the end of February and you watch it, please remember that Wendy didn't just become this drunken, drug-addicted, suicidal mess with grave disease all on her own. That's what I want to share with you guys today. Let me know your thoughts about what I've said here in the comments. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Share this out to anyone you feel could really benefit from this message. Subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you get a notification every time I upload a new video. And until the next time, live boldly, live empowered, live from the inside out. Bye for now.